Of this road to nowhere provides the stadium for 500,000 spectators, admission free. The numbered corners of the climb count down the kilometres to the final whistle. And the player to watch in defence is Miguel Indurain. In attack, Charlie Motte, Gianni Bugno, Claudio Chiappucci, Greg LeMond and Laurent Fignon. But watch for a run from the back from the Dutchman Gert-Jan Teunissen. Hi everyone, I'm Phil Liggett. The 1991 Tour de France is coming to Alpe d'Huez and you're watching it exclusively on SBS television right around Australia. Hello again and welcome to Alpe d'Huez in the heart of the Alps, and it's here today where the Tour de France may well be decided. This, looking back over my shoulder, is the last 200 metres of the most difficult climb in this year's race. Let's first of all have a look at the overall standings this morning. Miguel Indurain leading Charlie Motte by 3 minutes, 3 minutes 10 seconds ahead of the Italian champion Gianni Bugno. In fourth place, the king of the mountains at the moment, Claudio Chiappucci. Fifth is Greg LeMond, but inside now 5 minutes behind, and sixth is the Frenchman Laurent Fignon. Well, this morning when we came up the mountain, the riders due to reach here some 7 hours later, we estimated 500,000 people on its slopes. The vast majority of them are certainly Dutch. This is their Mecca. They've won here so many times before. And the name daubed on the walls and on the roads, that of Gert-Jan Teunissen, the man who's back from a year's suspension and who has said he's going to win here. He's trained here all winter. Now we'll see if he can do it. But Teunissen races only for the stage win. The battle between the 6 names I've just given you, they are the men now who must battle out the final stages of this year's Tour de France. This is the route they face. The distance, 125 kilometres, and there are 2 major climbs. The first one coming, the Col d'Ornon, taking the riders up to 1,365 metres. They go over the top of this with 29 kilometres still to race. A very dangerous descent. Then they're into the town of Bourg-d'Oisans, and then it's 13 kilometres all uphill to the finish.
And before the race started this morning, it was a disastrous start for Marco Lietti, the rider who won his first stage in the Tour de France yesterday. He went out training before the midday start, and he went up the Col Bayard, and he was knocked down by a motorist and broke his leg and his collarbone. And so helicoptered away Marco Lietti, and that is very, very sad indeed. The field rolling out for this very hilly stage in the Alps, and one of the guests on the tour today, Sevi Ballesteros, and enjoying a ride in the race director's car. He should have a tremendous day. And as soon as the race was underway, one could have predicted the attack being made by Thierry Bourguignon, because he lives here in the valleys, and the race going through where he lives, La Mure, and he built up a lead with Ruiz Cabestany of Spain, and they went ahead by over 3 3/4 minutes, and by the time they went over the top of the Col d'Ornon, Ruiz Cabestany was leading Bourguignon, and the main field, led by Claudio Chiappucci, passed over the top 2 minutes 19 seconds back. In fourth place was Titi Claverola, in fifth place Gianni Bugno, and the rest of the main contenders for this tour. Heading off now on the descent down towards the climb of Alpe d'Huez. And as we climb now Alpe d'Huez, we are just 2 kilometres up the mountain, and this is the chasing group. Still ahead is Thierry Bourguignon and Ruiz Cabestany, but this is the race now for the yellow jersey, and Gianni Bugno has forced the pace here, and it looks as though at least this time, Paul, the Benestos have answered.
Well, they have done. Jean-Francois Bernard being the ideal lieutenant there, just accelerating slowly to pull Bugno back into the fold there, but I think Bugno is just testing the waters there, and we'll see him a little bit later on. Indurain looks very calm and collected, no sign of panic at all there.
So Indurain brought up in answer there to the attack by the champion of Italy, noted not too far down the line either was Claudio Chiappucci, but we've yet to see that Greg LeMond has fully recovered in this Tour de France. He apparently this morning at the start simply said he did not know what would happen on Alpe d'Huez, he just hoped he would be there.
Well, there on the left-hand side is Gert-Jan Teunissen, the other man from Holland, who said that this was going to be his major rendezvous of the year. As we go to the group, in between the two riders in front here is Stephen Rooks and Thierry Claverola, the regional climber and the climber from Holland.
So the two top Dutchmen in the frame already. Stephen Rooks went clear, in fact, the valley at Bourg-d'Oisans, along with Thierry Claverola, Frédéric Vichot, and Ronan Pensek. They shed Pensek and Vichot. Just a quick glimpse there of the two leaders. Still ahead, the time check as they started the climb was 2 minutes and 10 seconds on the main group, the yellow jersey group, which we're looking at now. And this is the pressure being applied now at the front, and surely the gap is going to come down pretty quickly. This is an impressive start by Jean-Francois Bernard. I think he's now set to sacrifice himself on this climb. He'll be the pacemaker at the early part for the man in yellow, and then he'll probably drop away. He lost 15 minutes yesterday by being, quite frankly, inattentive when the race split up, some 50 kilometres from the finish. And we'll go back up now for a glimpse of the two leaders. This is Ruiz Cabestany, 6th in the Tour of Spain this year, 4th in the Tour of Spain last year, and a very good climber. They've been in the lead virtually all day today, and Thierry Bourguignon, anxious to impress every village he's ridden through. His name has been written on the road, but he'll do well to survive this now, Paul.
They've been away for a long time, and they're looking very tired there when you compare the styles of these two chasing riders. As we go back down to the main field, still Bugno at the front, trying to get rid of Indurain. Indurain in third place at the moment, in the wheel of Jean-Francois Bernard, who looks back to make sure he's safe.
And Luc Leblanc, quite clearly, has recovered well through the hot sunshine of the Midi, because he's climbing well again today, just as he did in that first day in the Pyrenees.
The group there with Indurain is not very far behind the group of Rooks and Ternisse. In fact, they've caught Rooks and Claverola at this instant, and the two leaders can't be very far in front now. I would say it's around about 30 seconds. But what a fantastic effort being made here by Jean-Francois Bernard, and as I talk, he's actually done the job and he's brought them back into the fold. So now we'll be fighting for the victory of the stage as well as trying to defend the yellow jersey.
So the main contenders for the £200,000 winner's prize on the Champs-Élysées, it's coming closer day by day, and Charlie Motte is here in this group now. This is the chase group. Andy Hampson just off the left of our picture, Laurent Fignon, Rondon, and in the centre there, Greg LeMond. So this is a very talented climbing group, and certainly they must not be counted out at the moment here.
Here's Cabestany. He's been dropped from that group. Having been away for such a long time, he can no longer follow them.
So Bugno again putting the pressure on, and immediately Indurain switches across the road and takes his slipstream. He looks over to see if any of his teammates are hanging on in there, but I think Jean-Francois suddenly got the message. He's been blown away in a matter of one turn of the Alpe d'Huez climbs, as the tempo has now been lifted by Gianni Bugno, and the screws are steadily being turned, and we are now being left with the heads of state in this year's Tour de France.
Savage acceleration by Gianni Bugno there. All it did was split the group a little bit, but it didn't panic Indurain. He's straight away responded to that attack, straight onto the wheel of Bugno. Chiappucci there looks to be struggling a little bit. We may see him try to attack later on. Just a little bit further back is Thierry Claverola, the climber from Vizille, just down the road, about 25 miles from here.
But look at this now. Pedro Delgado on the left and Laurent Fignon. And these riders now, between them, have picked up 3 Tours de France, and it looks as though Fignon is getting into his momentum.
But Fignon has left that group. The front group now has totally exploded. There are only 3 men left: Bugno, Indurain and Chiappucci. Luc Leblanc there just being left behind. But Fignon getting into his rhythm. But the way these riders are going in the front, it's going to be very difficult for him to get back. But I did notice there he's on a special bicycle, and he's on a very light bike today. I think he's obviously taken a lot of risks, and we may see him come back into the frame later. Here's LeMond now, a bit further down the climb, trying to come back up to Fignon, forcing himself. He looks okay today. He looks as if he's got a little bit back. There's Andy Hampson with LeMond as well. Well, a quick time check here, just so we know roughly what's going on. 40 seconds. Laurent Fignon is behind this group in company of Pedro Delgado and Gert-Jan Ternisse. 55 seconds back is LeMond and Hampson group. And Charlie Motte is at 1:05. But look at Jean-Francois Bernard here. He's giving it everything he's got, and he may well be coming back up to that leading trio.
Well, he's certainly causing a little bit of pain. He's done it. He's brought back Luc Leblanc and Thierry Claverola. And Tilly Claverola yo-yoing on and off the leading pace a year ago. He found the strength then to come back onto them in the last kilometre. 55 seconds from this group we're looking at to Greg LeMond's group.
A little bit further down, 40 seconds down is Gert Jan Tönnissen here. In fact, he's even cut his hair to try and cut down the resistance a little bit when he goes up to what for him is his main aim in life is the Alpe d'Huez.
We're back with the Jean-Francois Bernard group, and he's now recovered completely from the acceleration of Bunyo. He's come back up to this group, and he's gone back up to the front position, and he's now making the pace for Indurain.
There'll be only one thing going through his mind at the moment. He's a man who can ride an excellent time trial. He'll get into the frame of mind. He'll just think about riding at a steady rhythm, not too hard to give Miguel Indurain any pain, but just enough to try and persuade the others not to attack.
So we're looking now at Laurent Fignon, who's fighting his way steadily back into this race. This is the leading group. Can Fignon catch them up?
To enter our Motorola Europa Bike and Phone Prize package, just nominate who you think will be leading the tour by this coming Monday, and you'll be in the draw. Call the number on your screen by midnight Saturday and leave your nomination name and phone number. Even if you miss out, you're also in the draw for a trip to Paris courtesy of UTA Air France and an 8-day cycle tour from Outdoor Travel. Keep watching our coverage for more details.
Welcome back. We're on Alpe d'Huez, and we are now about 1.5 miles from the summit of the climb, and Jean-Francois Bernard doing a marvellous job today for his team leader and, of course, the leader of the Tour de France, Miguel Indurain. But the surprise is Luc Leblanc, who's sitting there, and here comes Greg LeMond on the wheel of Charlie Motte, and Greg is fighting back really well.
Greg's still about 1 minute 10 seconds behind. He's here with Charlie Motte. Brooks was 15 seconds behind the lead group. Fignon 40 seconds behind. Everybody is fighting to get back up to the front, but the speed that Jean-Francois Bernard is leading is making it very difficult for anyone to come back.
Jean-Francois Bernard joining Benesto this year from a French team, and Indurain now must be thinking what a good decision the team made.
Definitely a good decision, and the pressure that he's applied here has actually cracked Claudio Chiappucci. He looked as if he was rocking his shoulders a little bit there, and he's disappeared from this group, so that's one rider less for Miguel Indurain to think about. Chiappucci about 20 seconds back at the moment.
And the Tour de France now as we head towards Alpe d'Huez. Indurain seeing the riders around him crumble. Charlie Motte, second overall, is not here. Gianni Bunyo is the only man now who looks to challenge Indurain as we go towards the top of Alpe d'Huez, and Bunyo again has gone to the front to turn the screw, and this time I think we'll wave goodbye to Jean-Francois. He has been magnificent on this climb, but he couldn't handle the acceleration last time at Bunyo, but my goodness me, he's going to do it this time. He's increased his revs, he's got onto the tail of Luc Leblanc, and Bunyo again trying to crack these riders, and again they've controlled him perfectly. So just the four riders, Chiappucci, the last rider to fall away, Leblanc in a little bit of trouble, but losing only a little, half a length maybe. And look at this, Bernard has come back again as if to discourage Bunyo from attacking.
Well, I think this really must be a blow for his morale. Bernard really is the comeback of the year. He was literally forgotten about. He left France and went to ride for a foreign team. I think that was fantastic for him because it took away the pressure from the media. The French press had said he was going to be the new Hinault, and I don't think he could take that. He's had a nice, relaxed preparation. He rode exceptionally well in the Tour of Italy, and he's come back here now in the Tour de France, and he really is almost back to his level. But he's always said he will work as a domestique for the two leaders of his team, Pedro Delgado and Miguel Indurain.
And there's the face of Claverola, the rider who rode so well on the mountain last year. There's still a chance he might come back again. He's been up and down off the back of this leading group. And now there's more problems here because Bunyo has accelerated, and it's now man for man. The champion of Italy versus the former amateur champion of Spain. And now without doubt their #1 professional rider, and that is Miguel Indurain now. He's had the easiest ride that his teammates could give him, led all the way up the mountain by Jean-Francois Bernard, and now it's up to Bunyo, to say and to see, can he drop Miguel Indurain, or is Indurain going to win the Tour de France here and now?
Well, this is going to be a mano a mano. Luc Leblanc just recovering a little bit and coming back into the frame again. But Bunyo and Indurain are the two riders who are going to have to fight it out, I think, for this Tour de France after today's performances. Fignon is still at 55 seconds behind this group, and Le Monde, Motte and Hamston are 1 minute 25 behind. So Greg now starting to lose a little bit of ground as Claverola here starts to drop. Chiappucci, who's given such a fine effort since the start of this Tour de France, is suffering today probably for the first time.
And now the yellow jersey is setting the pace. And Leblanc still hanging on in there, who really has been the star of France this last week in the Tour de France. He wore the yellow jersey, and he has come back to this leading tandem of Italy and Spain. And there's a lovely shot of the yellow jersey. He looks so smooth. And Bunyo, who gives a little away, he just rides there, sets the pace alongside Indurain. Miguel Indurain here looking rather like the heavier build of Eddy Merckx in the past. Merckx, by the way, is here with his son Axel today, and we spotted him. He'd climbed up Alpe d'Huez, and he was on his way down on the bikes when we were driving up in the car. Thierry Claverola can just see the yellow car of the service vehicle going out of sight. But now we're coming into the false flat before we go up towards the finish. And look at this. Bunyo looks across at Indurain. And I'm wondering now if we have seen a gentle surrender in this year's Tour de France.
Well, Bunyo again just tried to accelerate a little bit, but there was no problem at all for Indurain. He was straight there. You can't get rid of him. Luc Leblanc staying in contact here. Looks as if we're going to see a sprint for the line amongst these three riders.
And of course tomorrow we stay in the Alps, and there is a very hard climb called the Col de Juplin tomorrow. Many say it's harder than Alpe d'Huez. It's a different type of climb because it doesn't come at the finish, and riders may not recover to get back for the finish, which is on the lower slopes of Avoriaz at Morzine tomorrow. This tour far from over yet, but Indurain will be completely satisfied today. Nobody has gained any time on him at all. As we head under now the halfway banner in this last kilometre, there'll be just a left-hand turn to the finish, and I wonder if Leblanc will make a charge before the bend, as they so often do. It's a very difficult corner if you misjudge it, as Le Mans nearly did a year ago. Then, of course, somebody like Bunyo will take the stage. That's how he won it. And this is the corner, and again you see misread by Indurain, but he's come round safely. He lines up for the finish now. Gianni Bunyo is in the best position of goes. He's worried about where Luc Leblanc is, though. Leblanc isn't finished by any means. He come back to the sea. I think he's finished now, as Gianni Bunyo rides clear of Indurain to win for the second year in succession. The first man ever to do that from Indurain and Luc Leblanc. And now the clock starts counting down to see what time gains they have made today. Jean-Francois Bernard, for me, the hero of Alpe d'Huez today. He has led his team captain to certainly win the Tour de France, in my opinion. We've still got tomorrow, of course, in the Alps, but it has been a superb ride today by Jean-Francois Bernard, and I think Indurain will buy him the champagne tonight. As Bernard takes fourth place, 34 seconds back. What a tremendous performance by him. And Stephen Rooks takes on Chiappucci for the sprint and gets it 42 seconds back. Chiappucci ahead there, behind rather, Stephen Rooks of Holland, the best the Dutch could offer today. And Laurent Fignon with Alvaro Mejia, and this is still a creditable ride by Laurent Fignon, losing a little more than a minute to the leaders, but he's picking up time on Greg LeMond. And it will certainly be that Fignon tonight will have moved up the overall classification 1 minute 11 seconds back on the day. And here is the arrival of Greg LeMond, and he's not sold himself out completely. Greg LeMond is coming back slowly in this Tour de France. He's the third rider around the corner, and the clock is barely going to be 2 minutes away as Greg comes home this time. But even so, I don't think we'll be seeing Greg LeMond winning this Tour de France. He comes across the line here in third place. Uwe Ampler brings them home. Greg LeMond in third place, 1 minute 57 seconds down. And so, congratulations to Miguel Indurain from the top golfer, Seve Ballesteros, who salutes the man today who may well have won this Tour de France with a great performance, conceding a single second to his arch rival, Gianni Bugno.
And the result tonight reflecting the top two riders in this year's Tour de France. Here it is, Gianni Bugno winning for the second year in succession. 1 second ahead of Miguel Indurain, and at 2 seconds back, Luc Leblanc. In fourth place, Jean-Francois Bernard. The best of the Dutch was Steven Rock's fifth, and Claudio Chiappucci was sixth. Of the other main contenders, Pedro Delgado was eighth, Laurent Fignon ninth, Charlie Motte 12th, Gert-Jan Teunissen only 13th, and Greg LeMond the 14th, and Andy Hampsten was 16th. On the podium tonight, the champion of Italy for the second year in succession, it's Gianni Bugno. What a great ride by him. This is now the overall situation in the race. Miguel Indurain is in first place, but 3 minutes 9 seconds ahead of Gianni Bugno after this crucial stage. Claudio Chiappucci moves up to third, Charlie Motte drops down from second to fourth, Greg LeMond stays in fifth place, and Luc Leblanc is now up into sixth slot. An absolutely superb defence of his yellow jersey by Miguel Indurain. You know, his Banesto team really do use the very latest in cycling equipment, and sometimes that equipment comes from some very strange places. Here's Adrian Smith to report.
This is L'Oreal. There are thousands of tiny villages like this dotted all over France. But there's one thing that makes this town particularly special. In fact, it's a mecca for most of the riders on the Tour de France, even though the race itself never comes anywhere near here. And this is what they come here for, this unlikely little factory in the south of France. These are their products, the bizarre high-tech bike wheels and handlebars that everyone on the circuit has started using in the last 2 or 3 years. In that time, little L'Oreal has become home to some of the world's best bike designers.
This is a wheel certainly you see it on the Tour de France. This is more light, more strong, and we make a lot of tests in wind tunnel, and it's certainly the best wheel in the world. Here you can see how we make the wheels. Very thin carbon fiber, and here the sandwich will make it stronger.
Roger, where do you see bike technology going in the next few years?
Oh, certainly in this kind of wheel, with 4 spokes wheel. It's really the best wheels in the world. 4 spokes wheel, aerodynamic like a plane, you see here. Very, very light, and very, very strong too, with the fiber carbon.
The carbon fiber technology is at its most advanced here. Carima wheels have consistently proven the best in wind tunnel tests, and their wheels are used by 12 of the 22 teams in the Tour de France. Castorama rider Thierry Marie had them on board when he won the opening prologue.
Alors les roues Carima sont excellentes puisque on s'est aperçu depuis cette année que les performances dans les contre-la-montre s'étaient améliorées. Donc je suis très satisfait des roues Carima.
The general feeling among the riders is that these wheels are such an advantage that despite their rigidity and the discomfort that can cause on the road, all bikes will boast them in the next 10 years. If you think the wheels are mind-bending new technology, then Carima will build you a whole bike. It certainly does look the part, and it weighs in at about 7 kilograms or 15.5 pounds. But this sort of technology does come at a premium. The price, around 9,000 Australian dollars.
Well, this is the first time I can ever remember rain coming to Alpe d'Huez, but at least it's come towards the end of the stage. Earlier in the day, the sun was out and the crowd was as big, if not bigger than ever. 500,000 people, the official figure on the mountain today. Now that is 4 times the capacity crowd of Melbourne Cricket Ground, and if you stand them end to end, they look something like this. Well, that's it for the Tour de France today in Alpe d'Huez. Tomorrow we stay in the Alps. Another battle can be in prospect between Indurain and Gianni Bugno, and perhaps even Greg LeMond. But for the moment, it's a happy atmosphere here on Alpe d'Huez, and it'll be a great night for Indurain tonight. From the SBS team, goodbye.